The phone was still recording when they found him, face down in the kitchen, blood dried beneath the tiles as if the house had tried to swallow it whole. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound left. On the counter, a half-drunk glass of whiskey, lipstick smudged across the rim. I stood in the doorway, watching the light flicker above his body. It wasn't shock I felt, just an absence, like silence had shape and weight. The detective kept replaying the recording. Her voice, calm, steady, almost rehearsed. "I told you not to touch me again." Then a thud. Then nothing. They said the file ended there, but I knew better. The silence wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Every story she told was too neat, too rehearsed. The timeline matched, except for one thing, the call that lasted 37 seconds after he stopped breathing. She said she panicked. I believed her, just not about when. In the footage, I saw her reflection in the window, still, waiting. Not a woman in shock, a woman counting. His phone was found under the sink, wrapped in a towel. Hers was factory reset the next morning. Neighbors heard nothing, no shouting, no fight, just the television running a true crime show at full volume. There was a photo on the mantel, the two of them at a lake. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. His hand was around her throat, but lightly, like a joke. I wrote in my notes, "Control wears many faces. Sometimes it smiles for the camera." And that's when I knew, this wasn't panic, it was pattern. Interviews started to blur. Friends said she'd changed. Quieter, sharper. The kind of quiet that makes you look twice. His family insisted she couldn't have done it. Hers never said a word. Every trace of her life was organized. Bank records, texts, schedules, all clockwork precision. Except one voicemail, left at 3:17 a.m. 2 nights before the murder. Her voice, whispering, "You think no one will believe me? Watch me." I played it again and again. Not a threat, a promise. The deeper I went, the more it felt like she'd been rehearsing the truth in silence. He'd broken her bones, just not the kind you could see. And she'd learned that survival isn't always about running. Sometimes it's about waiting. Every clue screamed motive. Every motive felt justified. I started asking myself the question detectives aren't supposed to ask. What if she didn't kill a man? What if she just ended the sentence? The final piece came from digital forensics, a recovered file from the cloud. The missing seconds. It began with him shouting, then the sound of a chair scraping the floor, and then her voice, level, detached, like she was reading from memory. "You always said I'd never have the last word." He laughed, but it broke halfway through. A struggle. A crash. The camera fell sideways, recording only shadows. Then a whisper, so soft I almost missed it. "Now you're quiet." I paused the audio there, not because I needed to, but because it felt wrong to keep listening. She didn't hide the body. She called the police an hour later, crying, repeating his name until it sounded like a confession. But everything about it was deliberate, down to the placement of the phone, still recording under the sink. She wanted this story told, just not by him. When I wrote my report, I couldn't call it premeditated. I called it inevitable. In court, she didn't plead for mercy. She just said one line, "I told him to stop." The prosecutor called it calculated homicide. The jury called it self-defense that went too far. I called it truth, stripped of sympathy, raw as bone. She didn't flinch when the verdict came. 10 years. Manslaughter. She smiled once, almost imperceptibly. Not victory, just closure. When the reporters sworn at her, she said nothing. But later, as they led her away, she looked at me, the one who uncovered the file, and mouthed a single word. Enough. It wasn't defiance. It was exhaustion, the kind that comes after surviving your own silence for too long. I realized then, she hadn't killed him to be free. She'd killed him so he'd finally stop talking. The house was sold within months. New owners painted over the stains. But I still drive past sometimes, windows up, radio off. People ask why I still think about her. I don't. I think about the quiet, how it lingers after violence ends, how sometimes justice sounds nothing like the law. Her case became a headline, then a documentary, then a debate. Everyone wanted to decide what she was: murderer, victim, survivor. But labels don't change the sound of truth. I keep the recording in evidence storage, unplayed, untouched. Because in that silence, that final breath, lies the only thing that ever mattered: control. I wrote my final report in 12 words. He spoke his last sentence. She finished it. Then I closed the file. Justice was never about mercy. It was about silence.